I will give all credit to Georgia and the towns here, and the stories that people have told me here that I've, not really stolen, but, yeah, listened to and took it inside myself and then spit them out on the page in some way.
Did you more deliberate research?
I think I'm going to need to. I did for Precious. I did a lot of research into the gypsy culture. And here, yeah, I mean, do you have a person I can contact or something? There you go.
You do chambers of commerce, libraries. I just wonder what your process was. Or a more general question.
Seek out information as I need it. I try to do enough research on places that they feel authentic, like with Pennsylvania too. Oh, what my favorite thing to do is to go through old newspapers from that particular summer and that particular year and see what was going on and what the ads looked like, because it brought me back to the 70s. I was like, wow, we did dress like that. I forgot about that. So I do that, but I try not to do so much that it keeps me from writing, because I actually know quite a few other writers, friends, who research immense amounts, and you talk to them, and 9 months, a year has passed, and you're like, how's your writing going? And they're like, oh, I'm still researching. I think it's a very fine line. Like, you want to get things authentic, and at the same time, you don't want to bog yourself down in so much reading that you're really not getting the writing done. And I have to be honest, I messed up in Precious because I got an email from a friend of mine, who yelled at me and told me, he's like, Sandy, trains don't whistle. That's not correct. And he really took issue with that and said that if I was going to write any more trains in my book, that he needed to see it so I wouldn't embarrass myself publicly with what he said.
Say what you tried to write. Yeah, what you tried to write.
Yeah, he told me, and you'd think I was so irritated I didn't even listen. Well, it's like a hum. It's like a...
down here, so when you're next
thank you very much. I'm going to write to him today and tell him that.
Yeah. You said the end of the book, you knew where you were going. Did the voice come to you when you knew what the end was going to be? When did that voice come? Because you said it is a different voice than you're used to writing.
That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, I guess the voice did spring from those ending lines, because the end, to me, lots of times when we lose people in our lives, strangers and people that we meet and our neighbors, they become kind of our extended family. And so I always had an idea at the end of Precious that it would move outward, sort of beyond itself. And when I did those lines, I sort of had the rhythm of that. And then, rhythm and tone a lot of times too is based on mood. And I'm the first person to say, when I was writing this book, my husband would come home and I'd be in tears some days, because it just brought up, even though it's fictional, it brought up so much emotion in me. And I think that lyrical voice really came from the combination of my feelings, my mood, and what was sort of produced as a result of that state of being that I was in during much of the time that I was writing this. Yeah.
We've been having a recent discussion about what do you want to be when you grow up.
Oh yeah, circus performer.
Have you written all your life, or is this something that you knew you wanted to do?
No. I thought I was going to, I studied psychology and philosophy and thought I would go into counseling, and then I took a creative writing course as an elective, and I really liked it, and I was awfully bad, like very, very, very bad. And my teacher nicely told me that, because I've been very lucky to have honest teachers, but she did encourage me, if I liked creative writing, that I should try, keep trying. And it was as a result of that openness that I just started taking more courses, and then I eventually switched over in a master's program and did some creative writing in that, and then did an MFA. And I was still writing badly in my MFA, but then eventually I started to publish, and I started making choices too where I was teaching less, and after a while writing was pretty much all there was, and that seemed to make sense to me. Although I know a lot of writers who balance tons of things. They have 10 things going on, and they do that particularly well. So So I think it's just a question of also finding what works for you as far as your schedule and your routine, and not beating yourself up about things that you can't get done because, you know, you've got a family or you've got work during the day. I'm doing the publicity stuff with Precious now, and I haven't written in 14 days, which is why I'm like this. But, you know, I have had to give myself permission because it's been very hard not to. Yeah.
What's the physical process? Typewriter, pen, computer?
That's really, yeah, you know, I actually, I'm insane with my process. So I don't write in a linear way. I'll write whatever comes to me. So on any given day, I might have 3 or 4 things that I know are going to go in 4 different chapters. And then eventually I start to see patterns, and then I highlight what belongs together. I told you it was tedious, and probably like, says something about me being off. But I chunk them together, then I put them in the Word document, then I print that out, and it's still a mess, but at least all the chunks are together. And then I write the chapter longhand. I have so many legal pads, and it slows me down too, so it makes me think about the rhythm, think about the ordering, and it really helps me anyway. But yeah, Precious was constructed on, I don't even know how many legal pads, you don't want to walk into my attic.
Sounds like J.K. Rowling had her whole manuscript handwritten, and it got lost in an airport, or one of the guards tried to take it or something, and I thought, and that's the only copy she had.
That would be very painful.
That would be, if I wrote my longhand, I wouldn't be able to follow anyone else.
Yeah, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. And I actually had my copy editor call me one day, and he's like, I have no idea, you just stopped your sentence that you wanted me to incorporate. I'm like, really? Did I have a glass of wine? And then I asked him what he thought sounded good, and we went with that. So.
You mentioned rhythm a lot. Music while you're writing, other things that you bring in.
I cannot write with any noise at all. My husband can't even be around in the same room. I don't get anything done. But that's good. That's a good question, because I mean I do listen to music a lot, just not when I'm composing. How about you? Oh, it seemed like you did. I would have thought.
I think of other things that I do that's like, okay, that's the more bouncy rhythm I can.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and you talk about mood and rhythm, so I wondered how that works for you. I do have an English degree, but I don't have the wit or the diligence that you're describing. Shorter poetry maybe, but not to create a whole world like that.
Well, see, and I can't write poetry. I actually
Yeah,
had someone
who
who
condense.
Yeah.
You're elaborating.
Definitely.
So other tools, thesaurus.
Always dictionary.
All the other reference to it.
Yeah, I get very paranoid at some point during the process, and I start looking everything up because I'm trying to find just the right word. And then I get very embarrassed if I had cow neck sweater instead of cowl. and you know, my editor, like, she's from New York, so I'm also like, oh, see, these people are so much smarter than me, you know. And she's like, Sandy, you mean cow, right? I did. It was a typo.
That's in Georgia.
Where did you grow up in Pennsylvania?
Where in Bethlehem?
Oh.
Right by the steel industry. My dad was also, he was a steel worker. And you know, they went bankrupt and all their people lost their pensions, and it was a really hard time in that area. Much like today, pretty much like